Oklahoma.
Yes.
And part Indian. I didn't know you were
Yes,
part
I'm
Indian.
3/4.
Really?
Cherokee, Choctaw, and Iroquois.
How do you feel about...
And Irish.
And Irish. How do you feel about the Americans stealing your land from the Indians, really? Come on, you know.
I don't think this is the time to talk about that, but I tell you, it was kind of a raw deal.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because you're growing up in Oklahoma?
Yes, I grew up in Oklahoma until I was, I guess, about 5. And then my father's business took us to Texas. I guess we lived in every town in Texas for at least a half an hour.
That's great.
Yes. And then we moved to Memphis, Tennessee, and those are the 3 places I've lived. Oklahoma, Texas, and Tennessee.
At 15, no, when you were an amateur show, you did an amateur show. What age? You did some amateur show, you got sang?
Are you talking about an amateur show where you get paid or an amateur show where you just...
You didn't get paid, Kay. You got up and sang.
Well, you get tickets.
Tickets.
That's a payment of a sort. But I sang for an awful long time before I ever got paid, and everybody was getting paid but me, you know. But in country music, it's more important that you sing or you play your instrument and everything.
Right.
Do you notice how young people are when they start out in country music? Have you ever seen those little guys? They're not any bigger than this. The hats that they wear, way more than they do. And they're staggering under these great big hats, playing a fiddle. And everybody on the side's going, oh boy. There's a joy about being from the country. Country people, my kinfolks could never understand why in the world I got paid for doing what they do every Sunday on the porch for nothing. And they could never understand why I got paid for it.
Because it's real. It's
I
real
guess.
enjoyment.
Well, what they did was real, too. It's
Yeah.
just that they didn't get paid for it.
What song, do you remember when you did your amateur shows and stuff and then you got paid? What was your very first K-Starr got paid?
Got paid, let's see. I had a 15-minute radio show and I got paid $5 a week.
Oops.
Yes.
Really?
And I worked
Is this in Memphis?
Yes. And I worked at 2 15-minute shows a week. I was still in grade school. But that was a lot of money. It was during the Depression and all that, so that was a lot. My mother was working for $5 a week in a sack of groceries for the WPA. So that was quite a lot of money. I was paying for all my school books and all of my little fanciful things.
Were you 15, something like that?
Oh, no.
You were younger?
No, I was way younger. I was singing with Glenn Miller when I was 14 and a half.
You're kidding. You were with Glenn at 14?
Listen, you grow up in a hurry in country. Yeah, you grow up in a hurry.
What's the Jewel Cowboy? The Jewel Cowboy.
That was in my country.
That was your country time? You were doing Jewel Cowboys?
I was doing songs like Wreck on the Highway and Mother Put My Little Shoes Away. They had such wonderful songs in because they were all about people, things you could relate to, things that had happened, you know.
The Claridge. You from
Memphis.
Memphis, that's the hotel.
But I started at the Peabody. The Peabody. I was working on the radio station there, and Joe Venuti's band came through.
With the fiddle.
The Joe Venuti, the fiddle, yes.
Right.
And he needed a girl singer, and the contract called for a girl singer.
Right.
He had a boy singer, and I think he thought he could bluff his way through, but it didn't work. They wanted a girl singer. They wanted somebody out there with some frills and ruffles and things, and they weren't going to let him open.
Right.
He's flat not going to let him open. So he had to look for a singer right quick. And I came blaring over the network singing whatever I was singing.
Right.
I had a piano player with me. That was it.
You carried your own piano player?
No.
Oh,
it was there. It was stationary.
Okay.
So I was singing on this afternoon, and this, I guess it must have been the road manager, heard me. He didn't see me or anything. He called the radio station and asked if I'd be interested in singing with Joe Venuti's band. And I didn't know who Joe Venuti was because I was too young to go to the Peabody Hotel to...
He was a society band, wasn't it?
No, he was Swing King, the fiddle. Oh, yes. Okay. And so anyway, I got very excited because it was a band I'd never heard of, and they were going to be at the Peabody. And I said, oh, gee, I don't know, I'd sure like to. And he says, well, who do we talk to? I said, you're going to have to talk to my mom and dad. Well, there was a pause you could have driven a truck through because I think he thought he was talking to an adult. And so then he got to Joe Venuti and told Joe Venuti what had happened. Joe says, well, go out there. We need a girl singer. They're not going to let us open. So when Joe took a look at me, and I was short, and I was fat, and I was dark, and I looked like an Italian, and that's all he had. And the minute he heard me sing, it was perfect. It was love at first sight.
Dixieland. Tell me about Bob Crosby.
Bob Crosby.
Tell me about Dixieland.
I was on the road. I used to, every summer, I would go on the road with Joe Venuti's band. I started when I was 13, and then when I was 14. But when you're dark and you're heavy, people don't know how old you are. And my mother traveled with me as my sister.
Did your mother encourage you in the business?
No,
Kay?
my mother was kind of shy and very sweet and dear, and she never pushed me or anything. But she wanted me to do whatever was going to keep me from being frustrated, I guess. And this seemed to be the thing. And Joe was so kind and good that I guess mothers can tell when something's going to be good for their kids as a rule. So anyway, we traveled with them the first year, all the summer long, and then I came back and went back to school. Then it came summertime again. This time I'm like 14. And we're out on the road, and again, a band leader's manager heard me sing on one of the remotes from one of the hotels we were playing in. And he called up because Bob Crosby needed a girl singer who was not known. And that sure was me. And he wanted somebody that could sing, you know, in tune and knew when to come in and when to get lost. And so they didn't know how old I was. So he talked to Joe Venuti, and Joe Venuti said, yes, I'll see that she gets there. So he put my mother and me on a train, and we went to Detroit or someplace,
Detroit, Michigan.
Big city. And it was just
was that a big city for you?
Well, it was to us, you know. And we didn't know what to do. And if somebody hadn't met us at the train station, I guess we'd still be there. I don't know what I'd be doing then. I wouldn't be singing, I bet. But anyway, they met us and took us. And do you remember a girl singer by the name of Dorothy Clare?
Dorothy Clare, not quite.
Well, she was cute little thing. She's little tiny thing. She wore little dresses that had like striped collars and cuffs, and then she'd have a great big striped bow that matched it in her hair. And she'd do the boop boop did 'em down and what 'em choo, you know, those kind of songs, and all the cute little things. And I did all the songs about unrequited love. There I was, 14 years old, telling people how to live their lives.
Probably never been
love. I'll tell you how it goes.
Why do 14-year-old girls singing love songs but they don't even know about?
Well, I'll tell you something. Some of those songs are written so well that if you just tell the story, you've told them how it's done. So we didn't worry about that. But it was during this time that he wanted a girl singer to take to New York to do, I think it was a summer replacement show for Chesterfield Cigarettes.
Is that Glenn Miller, or Ben?
No,
Benny
no.
Goodman?
This was Bob Crosby.
Bob Crosby. Okay.
That's what he wanted the girl singer for.
Okay.
So we went to New York, and I did for the whole summer. I did the summer replacement show with the Crosby band.
Right.
Now we're finished with the show.
Right.
Now, my mother and I are all packed. We'd been trying to go to the Automat. We'd heard so much about it. So we're going to go to the Automat. We're waiting for a hand-to-hand or something, you know, out through the slot. Because how could you go back home and not tell people you've been to the Automat?
Right,
I mean,
you
just don't do that. So anyway, we got to the Automat, we came back, and the story goes that this manager of Glenn Miller's band was in the lobby saying to the musicians, look, I got to have a girl singer. Marion Hutton is going in the hospital. She's going to be gone for 2 weeks. And after that 2 weeks, the girl that we're going to use, you know, we'll have to give up the chair because it really belongs to Marion Hutton. I can't get a notable singer who wants to fill in for somebody for 2 weeks. That nobody wants to do it. So he says,
you did, K-Starr.
Well, but the story goes that some musician says, you see that little round can getting on that elevator? Says that thing can sing. And that's how I got that job.
So you worked on that?
So I sang with his band, but I had to get permission from the school board and from my daddy in Memphis to let me stay the extra 2 weeks.
Because in New York, you have to have permission, don't you?
Well, no. You have to have permission from the school board if you're going to be late going in.
Oh, I see.
Or they'll really get on your case when you get back. So that's what happened there. I sang with the band for 2 weeks. I didn't have any arrangements or anything. Really? But I had a good ear, and we used to jam things, and we'd do like medleys of songs. You know? And it was wonderful.
Did you go back to Memphis after that?
Oh, yeah. I went back
with
and
your
finished
mama?
school.
You went back to school and finished?
Right.
How did the Benny Goodman and Glenn Miller thing came along?
Benny Goodman never came along.
Okay.
But Glenn Miller, that was when, that was this man who said, they said, see that little round can getting on the elevator? That's when I sang. I took the place of Mel.
That's how Glenn Miller came along?
Well, I more or less came along. He was already there.
But you became very popular on that, though. You made a record with it,
I made two.
What was it?
One was Baby Me, and one was Love with a capital U. Never really auditioned for anything.
You really didn't?
Never in my life have I ever auditioned.
How did Capitol...
I've kind of been in the right place at the right time.
How did Capitol Records come to you? How did that all begin?
Dave Dexter. I had been singing with Charlie Barnett's band for a long time.
Ooh, another good one.
6 years.
Yeah.
And I had a bad throat. I really had sung over and under and around colds until finally I just got pneumonia. We were doing a Coca-Cola show every week from a different camp, you know, whether it was Marines or the Navy or the Army.
Traveling around during the war.
You bet. And every week we would do a show, a Coca-Cola show from a different camp. And we were on those awful transport planes that are so cold.
These are overseas, all over here?
No, all over the United States. We didn't go out of the country.
Okay, go ahead.
But it didn't make them any warmer, those planes, or any more comfortable. And I finally, with all these colds and everything, the only time I ever fainted in my life, I fainted in the wings after I'd finished doing my part of the show, fainted in the wings, and when I woke up, I was in the hospital, in the Army hospital.
You had pneumonia.
I had pneumonia, and I was there for almost 2 weeks. But then after that, I had a strange thing happen. I could be talking or I could be singing, and without any warning, nothing came out. And it wouldn't matter if I was on the air or people were dancing and I'd be singing along. And
okay, you've had some tough times in your life, though, hard knocks.
Oh, I think everybody sort of has.
No. Kay Starr has some tough times in her life. Come on, Kay, look back. You know, you're a tough lady. You're from Texas and Tennessee or whatever it is. You've always been there fighting. You've had some tough times in your life.
I've had to overcome some things, but...
How do you overcome those things, Kay? Tell me. How do you do it?
Kind of mind over matter, don't you think? If you trust God, you just say, hey, I'm doing all I can. When is somebody going to come down here and help me?
Because I
never go on the stage. I don't say, okay, here I am. Where are you? You know.
You gave up for several years, disappeared.
Well, when my throat was so bad, I couldn't really sing. I didn't.
How did you handle that, Kay?
Well, a doctor.
I mean, this was your life.
I know. The doctor, he paralyzed my throat for about 4 months because he knew I'd never stop talking.
Yeah.
Which was the truth. And then when I did start to sing again, I sang with just the piano.
Right.
And then finally the doctor said, okay, now you can add a bass.
Right.
And then I sang with that for a little. Then he said you can have drums, but only the brushes.
Right.
And it took me almost a year before I was able to sing with a full-blown orchestra. So that year out of my life was at that time.
Must hurt you because a lady who loves to sing out there and travel around the world.
I was singing a little bit, but I was a little afraid to punch too much, and I'm I sing loud.
Loud, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a loud
Into each life some rain must fall.
I did that with Charlie Barnett's band.
What a great song. You hurt. Tell me about that one. How did those two great songs
come along? Well, those were just songs that I did with
Charlie Burnett.
You Always Hurt the One You Love, and Into Your Life Some Rain Must Fall.
Those are great
Haunted
songs.
Town. When I first joined Charlie Barnett's band, I took Lena Horne's place. Can you believe that?
Really? Was she with Charlie Burnett?
Yes.
Lena Horne?
Yes, you bet.
Uh-huh.
And I was singing her arrangements. But ignorance is bliss.
Right.
I didn't know that there was such a thing. I mean, I did later on, but in the beginning, I didn't know what a range was. I thought a range was something you cooked on or that the cattle grazed on. I didn't know there was another kind. And so when they asked me about a range, I said, well, you know, why not? And as you're young, you think you're invincible anyway. If they can do it, why can't I do it? Well, of course I can do it. And that's why when I did the thing, Marion Hutton's songs, they were way too high for me. I sound like a jazzed up alfalfa. I really do on the things. And I did that, and then when I went with Charlie and singing her songs, except her songs were blues songs.
Right.
And lovely, a sharecropping blues in a haunted town, and Good for Nothing Joe. But there were some high notes. I mean, to tell you, I strained myself to get to them, but I got to them. But
the Cornet Club. Tell me about the Cornet Club here in L.A.
Well,
that had a lot to do in your... Go on, tell me about that.
Yeah, it did. And Streets of Paris, and Eddie's Oasis.
These are clubs that in L.A. were very in places.
I sang on the wrong side of the... I sang on the wrong side of the railroad tracks and the right side of the railroad tracks.
But that Would you say you paid your dues? I hate that word, you paid your dues, when people say you paid your dues.
Oh, I don't
Starr,
think you ever stop paying your dues. If things good are happening to you, you just keep going. And I think if you give back anything, if something's been given to you, which, as she said, you know, God gave me, it must have been faith that made me a singer, because I do not know how to read music. You understand? I'm confessing, I'm not bragging.
But you did compose a song, though.
Well, you can compose a song without knowing what you're doing.
Okay.
People
Yes,
dancing don't know what they're doing.
Right, true.
People talking don't know what they're saying.
You don't read music. A great singer like you.
No, I tried one time, and I got so busy trying to remember where the notes went that I forgot to tell my story. And I'm a storyteller.
You're a storyteller in the song.
A singer is an actor and actress set to music, and you're only as good as the part you play or the story you're telling.
Okay, Starr. The Wheel of Fortune, when they gave you that song, to do it, Capitol Records was it?
Capitol Records woke me up out of a sound sleep, and it was at a time when people were covering records. If they knew that somebody in New York was going to record a song, and it was a good song, they got somebody on their label to quick cover it so that it could come out either at the same time or maybe half an hour later. Well, what Capitol was trying to do was to come out at the same time, because there's 3 hours difference between the California time and the New York time. So they got me out of bed and got me over there, and since I didn't read music, I had to learn the song so that they could get a key. They got the key, and all the musicians that they wanted were out playing on a gig or something, you know. But this was like 11 or 12 o'clock at night, so it was only a matter of maybe 3 hours before everybody would be finished with the gig. If they could get in touch with them and tell them to come right from wherever they were, right straight to the studio, and we would do the song. So while Frank Duvall, I think, was it Frank Duvall that...
I think so. I'm not quite sure.
Hal Mooney or Frank Duvall.
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I can't remember, but one of the people that mostly did my music was writing the arrangements. And they had a Last Supper table, and they had all of these copyists there. And he'd get through with the writing this thing, he'd just throw it up in the air, and one would grab it, and he'd copy all the parts.
So that's where the Wheel of Fortune came, honey?
You betcha. It was spinning, and turning. Because if we weren't friends, I couldn't sing it right. So we got into the studio, and it took longer to record the wheel because we had an actual wheel. A roulette wheel. And to get that thing at the right tempo, so it would be kind of relatively in the same key as the song, you know. It took longer to do that than it did to do the song.
You went around 1,000 places in 39 states, going to all these wonderful places, radio stations, pushing the song.
Yes.
It was a big song. One of the biggest in
America. It was a war song. Did you know that?
It was a war song?
Yes, Korean War. See, it was not, this sounds trifling, and
this
I'm not
during the Korean War when it became famous?
Yes. Yeah. But it was not a big war. It did not last too long. It lasted long enough to get a lot of people killed and hurt, which is long enough for any war to last. But because it was such a short one, most people don't even recognize the fact that it was a war song. But I got a lot of kids named after me because of that song.
You've enjoyed entertaining the troops,
I love it.
You and Martha Ray. There's another great lady,
yes.
Martha Ray.
Yes. Oh, but Martha did so much more than I ever thought about doing.
She was a nurse in Vietnam.
A real nurse.
A real nurse, yeah.
I keep
a lot of people don't know that.
I said she wasn't a play-like nurse. She was a real nurse.
Yeah. What's the biggest lesson that Kay Starr has learned?
Oh, gee, I think every step you take is a mild lesson. Some of them are a little stronger than others. But I think to roll with the punches, to learn to roll with the punches, and to not take everything personally.
Good.
If you start taking everything personally, then you become paranoid. You become paranoid, and you're not good for anything.
Good. You're married. You have a lovely husband.
No, I'm not married
You're
now.
Not married?
I have been married.
You have been married. You
have
a daughter.
I have a grandson.
Your grandmother, nice. And your granddaughter is, your daughter is a singer? Plays,
well, she's too smart to just sing. She is a businesswoman.
A computer singer.
What do you mean?
No, but she's been working for years with computers and what have you, and has 20 or 30 people under her. Oh, my daughter.
Yes.
This is something you might be interested in knowing. My daughter, Catherine Yardley, was for a time there, and she is in the Guinness World Book of Records, being the woman's world champion, long-distance hang gliding champion.
Oops. Okay.
How you like that?
That's great. When did you get married? What years? How did you meet your husband?
Oh, which
Woody,
one?
Woody.
Which one?
Woody.
No, we don't talk about Woody.
Oh, you don't want to talk about
one.
Woody? How many times you been married, Kay?
Enough times.
Enough
I
times?
said I was going to try it till I got it right.
Oh.
And I haven't got it right
You
yet.
haven't
so
got it?
I don't know. Maybe I'll do it again. But
You seem very happy, Kay.
I am happy.
Because you've been through a lot in life, Kay, you know.
Well, you learn a
Are you
little
writing a
something from
book
it.
about your life and all?
No.
Come on, Kay.
I can't do that.
Why?
Too many people have to croak before I could write a book.
Really?
Yeah.
You have a lot to say, huh?
Well, it's not adverse, but I think, you know, just a lot of people that I think are so special, and why I think they're so special, and maybe their mates might not think they're so special for the same reasons.
You seem to treat people very special, Kay Starr.
People are special to me. I
To
don't
you.
know. I don't know how anybody could work in the business that we're in and not be crazy about people, because
That's-
it's tough enough.
There's a lot of people in the business are not crazy about people.
I know
Kay.
it. I know it. I just
They're
don't
not.
understand it. I don't know how they can stay in the business.
What is your philosophy in life, then?
I don't really have any philosophy.
You call yourself just... Go ahead.
I love life, and I hope that other people do too.
Do you go
That's it.
back south to keep your roots tight? And
My mother had a stroke, and she now lives with me. She's 90.
She was in Texas, was she living?
No, she was in Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
And so I have only a few kinfolks. I'm an only child. I have an only child. And she has an only child. We are fading fast. But we are very closely knit. What few of us that are left.
So you're very close.
I have cousins that still live in Oklahoma. I have an adopted brother that lives in Oklahoma. But I don't have a big family. I have an extended family of friends.
What's some of the songs, looking back, what's some of the songs that you would say, Kay Starr, this is Wheel of Fortunes.
Do you know, Skip, why I'm lucky? I think if you have one thing that belongs to you, you're lucky. If you have two things,
Yes.
you are really lucky. And after that, I mean, it's really the frosting on the cake.
True.
I have Wheel of Fortune. Nobody bothers with that song but
Rock
me.
and roll and
I have Rock and Roll
Roll
Waltz.
Waltz.
I have Bonaparte's Retreat. I have, what? I have...
you have many down
I have a lot of near misses, but those are the three that no matter where, I can't even do a benefit.
They holler it.
For
out
no
there.
money, I can't do it unless they won't have me unless they're sure I'm going to do Wheel of Fortune.
4 ladies, 4. 4 gals, 4. You
4
with
girls,
Martha
4.
Ray and
Yeah.
Rosemary Clooney. Tell me about that show, Rosemary Clooney.
It was
and
wonderful.
Who was also O'Connell?
Yeah, Helen O'Connell.
Helen O'Connell.
Well, there were 4 of us. It was Clooney and Martha Ray and Helen O'Connell and myself.
Right.
And it was fun. I wasn't one of the original ones.
Right.
It began with, I think...
Rosemary.
Rosemary.
I remember.
And Margaret Whiting.
I think you also worked with Mimi Hines, too, did you?
No,
Did
I
you?
didn't work with...
You didn't work
I
with
worked
Mimi?
with Kay Ballard.
Kay Ballard. Okay.
So it's it's always been very delightful. The people that have worked have always been of a level, you know. It was wonderful.
You keep yourself busy. You still work.
Yeah.
You still... You've
People
tried-
think if you're not on the big screen or on the television screen, or you don't have a sitcom, you don't have a commercial, that you've either died or quit the business. I haven't done either. I do things all the time.
What's your happiest memory in show business?
Oh
You must
dear!
have some
I think
wonderful
each time you
memories.
get a gold record, it's a very happy memory.
How many you have? You have so
I have
many.
3.
3 gold records. And those days, gold records, wow,
Yes, they really
were
meant something.
They meant
They,
something.
I had with "If You Love Me," which was Edith Piaf's song.
Right.
I had 999,000. I mean, I like about 10 records having a million, and no cigar. I did not get a cigar.
Never.
So close.
How about films? Did you ever try to...
I
You're
don't know,
here in
I've-
Hollywood. You're living here.
I was under the impression that you could only do one thing at a time. Shows you how dumb I am.
Look at Dolly Parton.
I realize
You know.
that. I realize all that
Dolly
now.
Parton, darling.
Skip, but
Kay
this is,
Starr, I'm looking
this
at
is
you.
after the fact.
Come on,
after
sweetie.
the fact.
I'm looking at you, darling. You and Dolly Parton, honey. She has nothing in common with you, darling. You got it all. For
Wait
me.
a minute.
Come
wait
on,
a
honey.
minute. Wait a minute.
Dolly
Don't get
Parton.
carried away here now.
No.
Talented lady, I tell you. And Peggy Lee lives right down the street from me. Look at all the things Peggy can do.
Oh, she's
She
great.
can sing. She can
Good
write
actress.
songs.
Good actress.
She's a good actress.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen anything she's painted?
She's a good painter, too.
Oh, God,
Yeah.
she's divine.
How is she
painter.
doing nowadays? You know,
I haven't heard from her lately, but she's been doing really good. She's told me she was going to walk from on the Hollywood Bowl. She says, "You watch me." She says, "I'm going to walk from the wings to the middle of the stage." And I said to myself, "Oh, girl."
Is that what she said?
Dream on. She says, "I'm going to do it. You wait and see." And by God, she did it.
What stands out in your mind, Kay, looking back in your life as a child, 14, 15, singer? What's struggling? What stands out in your mind now, today? What stands out in your mind as a child?
I think the deal that my Aunt Nora made with my mother so that I could be on the first amateur hour. My mother said, "She's only a kid, Nora. She's a child." And my Aunt Nora said, "Yeah, but she can sing, Annie. Leave her alone. She can sing." And so she says, "Oh, I don't know." She says, my Aunt Nora says, "I'll make a deal with you." She says, "If she does good, she's yours. If she does bad, she's mine." And so my mother says, "Well, you can't beat a deal like that." And I went on the amateur hour and won it.
What song did you do? Remember? You remember?
Oh,
No?
you won't believe
Yeah,
it.
go ahead.
Potatoes are cheaper, tomatoes are cheaper, now's the time to fall in love.
Sounds like a recession song.
I told you.
You're going to be. What's new and exciting right now in Kay Starr's life now? Right now, at this moment.
I'm just getting adjusted to having my mother live with me. I think when your mother comes to live with you and she's 90 years old, you become the mother and they become the child. And so she's hard of hearing, so I'm now working with Miracle Ear and trying to get the telephone working so that she can talk on the telephone. I have a great many adjustments to make, but I'm doing it.
Do you still see your old friends? You're on the telephones talking to your old friends?
Oh, sure. My kids got me a cordless telephone.
Right. You talk to your old friends?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And I got an apron with a big pocket, and I carry that thing with me every place I go.
Do you really? Okay, Starrs, you're a joy. You know that. I just. You have a new record coming out, or is it just? Tell me about
Rhino
Right.
has put out a thing with singers. Have you not heard it?
No, no. Just,
Oh,
I'm just going to ask you.
it is
Go ahead.
really so good.
Tell me.
If people like singers, they gotta have this thing.
Right. Go ahead.
It has every singer of my era, and it made me so proud. And the fun of it is,